What is going on YouTube? Today we have Adrian's motor in the house. So Adrian's a customer. He's been having a lot of problems with motors, tuners, etc. And he hit me up. He's part of a group chat. He's on some of the Facebook pages, and he also is a subscriber to this channel. So hey, make sure you guys subscribe. But yeah, so he started talking to me. He said he had an issue with the motor. He went to go get it tuned and it blew up, and it was a catastrophic blow up. Rods, parts, everywhere. So it is sitting here. This is going to be part one of Adrian's teardown. So he brought me the motor, the full long block. So here she is. He did take some stuff apart. He's gonna send me that stuff, but here's the motor, and apparently it's missing a rod. So he brought it over. He says he wants me to go through it, and I think we're probably going to go into a 2.4F, pretty much like mine, but it's going to be a little bit less power, so we'll put a little bit lighter piston rod in it. But he does have a C009 trans, so we're going to have to go ahead and take that off, and then we'll start ripping into this motor. So hopefully we can save some parts. It also has a really good built head on it. Hopefully we can save that, but we won't know till we get her all torn down. So make sure you guys follow along on Adrian's teardown, and let's get this puppy pulled apart. All right, she's on stand, ready to start getting tore down. I'm gonna take all the small stuff off first, and then valve cover and head will come off, and we'll see what's happening. All right, guys, can already see big no-no. Don't be putting your Honda bond in this area. So this is causing oil blockage, okay? So you don't need Honda bond here. This is not where you want it. That O-ring is what keeps that sealed off. So do not put Honda bond. Just run your Honda bond down on the side, because you don't want it inside of there. This is where your oil passageway is at. So you don't want that. And if this breaks off, which it was about to break off, and some could have gotten broken off, that can go down and get lodged and clogged in a main or a rod hole, and then you'll starve whatever journal that is, and you'll starve the oil, and you will throw a rod. So this isn't good. That's just a little thing that I just saw. All right, so I'll bring you guys in when I find stuff. So this, your idler timing gear here, this guy was barely tight. Okay, there is a torque spec for this bolt, and it has to be torqued to that. And when it is happening, it's not real bad, but this got loose enough that it started to mar up this this shim here. And this normally looks brand new all the time. Now there's nothing that I can catch my fingernail on, but you can definitely see where it was loose enough and it was starting to kind of mar up the spacer there. So you guys have to follow these torque specs. You got to follow the manual. I'm not sure if Adrian did this part or if his engine builder did this part, but this was not tight. This was not torqued down at all. I mean, I went to put my big breaker bar on, and I put it on. I didn't even push down, and the breaker bar weight alone, which is not that much, I mean maybe a half a pound or a pound, literally loosened that up. And these are torqued down pretty good. So again, make sure you guys are paying attention to the manual torque specs. guys in again. There is no ARP torque lube. And I knew there was something because when I was cracking these loose, there's no lubrication. They're dry. There should be ARP torque lube or moly lube on all of these washers, and they're dry. And I could tell because each one, when I was cracking them loose, some were tighter than others. You have to use lube. You have to use moly lube. All right, so Ultra Torque moly lube. I got it everywhere. You got to use this stuff. You don't use that stuff, your torques will not be correct. Okay, that's when you put a bolt in a washer down, there's drag. You're getting metal to metal drag. Okay, what that stuff does is it allows it to turn and slip to get an accurate torque reading. That drag ends up becoming part of the torque. So say these are 90 foot-pounds, right? Say you have over 20 pounds of drag on the nut to bolt or washer or surface head. Now you didn't torque it to 90, you torqued it to 70 because you have drag. So it's not properly torqued down. Not only does that happen, but you will not get, they won't all will be the same. Some will be like if one drags more than the other while you're torquing it, you might have one at 65, you might have one at 90, you might have one at 80. So they're all gonna be different. So I noticed that taking these off. Again, guys, this is just attention to detail when you're putting motors together. Again, I don't know who did the head install, but that's definitely concerning. You gotta use Ultra Torque lube. Okay, another thing I don't like is whoever put the studs in, put them in pretty tight. So I'm pulling on it and they're pretty tight down into the block. Some people say you should do this. Others say you don't. I mean, these are tight though. These are tight into the block. I don't do that, guys. What I do is I run these down till they meet the bottom, and then I do a half a turn. So let's tighten this one down to the bottom. All right, right there, I feel resistance. As soon as I feel resistance, I go a half a turn. All right, well, I'm not getting the half turn here, right? All right, right here, I do a half a turn out. Boom, undo it. All right, pulling these studs out. Really, really hard to see on camera, guys. But can you see the mangledness? And you see all these metal filings in here? That's from the bottom of the stud. That's from putting these in too tight. See that threads are all messed up? See that one hanging off? And it actually will grab the, so watch. They'll grab the paper towel, look at that. It's because it's all frayed. It's all, the metal's all coming apart. So these studs are pretty much no good. I wouldn't put these back in. That makes a difference. There you go. See that big old chunk hanging off? Started destroying the threads. Watch, see? Catching the towel. This end won't do that because this was that's why I wasn't catching. This was the good end. And see the threads? See they're perfect? That's a piece of dirt that you just saw in those threads. Perfect. This end, look at it all chewed up. Look at that big snag hanging off the end. So he's gonna need new head studs too. Ouch. That's pulling threads right out the block there. Do not tighten your studs into your block, guys. All right, guys, moment of truth. We're gonna pop the head off. And I need a spot to put the head. And remember, guys, don't pry onto where the cylinder meets the head. You can really screw things up doing that. So always pry where stuff is not mating up, you know. There we go. All right. Well, guys, we got some bad news. for Adrian. Cylinder head did get nipped, which really sucks. Let's go in here and look at this. So this is a CSS block. They do nice work. As you can see, this is the piston that came out. You can see where it nailed the valves, and it hit the head. So if you guys check it out, exact same thing happened to mine. Mine's a little worse, but you can see where it hit here. Oops, sorry. You can see where it hit here, even cracked into the head there. Valves obviously got bent and pushed in, it hit there, and it hit up here. Can this be saved? Possibly. Is it risky? Because this could be cracked somewhere. Yes, definitely risky. It could possibly be saved though. Really nice finish. Whoever did the deck on this, really nice finish. So yeah, I'm gonna have to see what he wants to do. This possibly could be saved. It's not bad. It's nowhere near as bad as my head. I don't really like that in there. But possibly could be saved. I'm not a cylinder head expert. Normally I let Jeremy take care of this stuff. So yeah, it might be okay. I'd have to get Jeremy's opinion. He might have to look at it and see if he can smooth that out, and possibly we could at least save this head, but gonna need new valves. So yeah, the valves are definitely gonna need replaced, at least those two. Possibly, actually, looks like those as well. So probably have to get new valves as well, at least for this chamber. And I don't know, Adrian may want to do all of them. Again, the head's going to need looked at, so that's going to end up getting sent off to Jeremy. Back over on the block, nice flat top pistons. Don't know what they are yet, have to look. I definitely would have smoothed out those valve relief edges. They got pretty pointy on the ends. Those can form hot spots. All right, see those really pointy sides? Don't like those. And definitely form hot spots and cause knock and detonation. But yeah, this guy's definitely not good. What I don't see though, I don't see any signs of detonation or serious knock. Normally when there's knock or detonation, you'll see it in the piston. You'll also see it in the head. You'll see it getting pretty bad in these chambers. A little bit in there. That could be from previous, maybe. Nothing there, nothing there. This you can't really go by because obviously some bad stuff happened in there. There's some marks there, but it looks like previous stuff maybe. So I think we're okay. But all right, next we're gonna drop the pan and look at the carnage. Oil pan, lots of parts. So I wanted him to have the rod end in there, and I think he forgot it. So he's gonna end up shipping me the rod end because I wanted to see if there's any heat and material in the rod bearing, but we might be able to see something on the other end. All right, guys, well, obviously the crank's not gonna be any good. It's demolished. Let me get a little light here. And as you can see, I thought this had, there we go. As you can see down in there, not good either. We have a hole right there. So it went through the side, not good. Also, check that out. Can you guys see that way down in there? It's not focusing. That's a rod end cap. Look at that. It folded it like a sandwich on that rod. And there's nothing on this end. And this one completely sheared off. So I don't know how these both got like that. Unless he took this off, I'd have to ask him. But this one is obviously sheared. Sheared right off. So something happened here. By looking at the journal side, there's no heat. And I don't see any heat on this guy either. Which is telling me it wasn't an oil problem, because if it spun a bearing, this would be all discolored and you'd see the bearing like welded to it. And I don't see that. So a little puzzled right now, but we're gonna go ahead and get all this tore apart, see what else we can find. All right, pulling the bed plate off for the first time. All right, definitely some carnage. Lots of carnage. Mains look good. Mains look really good. All right, let's. So these are just ARP 2000 3/8, and I'm not sure what rods they are yet. I'm about to find out. Go ahead and pull number one. I think the 3/8 are only torqued to like 40, 45 or something like that. It's not real heavy. These are nowhere near as strong as the 7/16. So let's look at number one, see if we see anything that pops out at us. Well, the coating's gone on the rod already. Coating is gone. Let's get the piston out. All right, piston's out. There are these pistons. Some pretty thick, looks like 250 wall pins on a Eagle rod. Not a fan of these rods, guys. Not a fan. Don't like Eagles at all. I would not put Eagles in anything personally. Very, very thin, very tiny. Not much material there at all. You can see how thin everything is on these rods. I mean, look, even inside of there, it's barely anything. Very, very thin rod. I don't like these rods. I'd go with a BC H-beam or H-beam Turbo Tough or something like that. These are very, very, honestly, probably not much stronger than stock, to be totally honest with you. So, and I've seen a lot of Eagle rods fail. That could be exactly what happened here. Just pure failure on the rod. These are good pistons though. I used to run Aries. Very good pistons. So the Trom owner is actually used to design Aries pistons. So yeah, good pistons. All right, let's set this down. Let's continue to tear it down here. All right, we're doing number 4 now. All right, so as you can see there, guys, the bearing did not stay in the rod cap. And I'll bring you guys in closer, but I don't know how many miles this has on it, but the coating is worn and it's already starting to, you see the micro, like the cracking and stuff. It's wearing on the top layer already. So it was getting some heat in there, that's for sure. All right, same deal. I think this is, he was mentioning this, so you can see this guy, looks like it tapped a valve when it dropped. He said a previous motor dropped and they reused the pistons. Skirts look good. No, nothing crazy. All the ring packs feel pretty good. Rod again, wearing off the coating already getting into the first layer. That still has some good bite in it though. And these are ACL standards, so it's just got a set of standard ACLs in them. Thing had on it. It definitely shouldn't be already wearing past the coating. You can see it was getting hot.
So I talked to Adrian afterwards, and this motor does have about 2,500 miles on it. So from what I can see, the wear, this isn't too bad for 2,500 miles. We'll have to look at clearances, but we might go a little larger. It was making about 550, he said, so not too bad.
At least from 1 and 2, from what I can see. I mean, or not 1 and 2, 1 and 4. This was the bottom rod. You can see you can see where the coating was, and it just wore it right off pretty quick. So it could have been just on the hair tighter side, kind of self-cleared, wore that coating off. Nothing terrible though. I'd probably go a little bit more clearance though. All right, now we're going to remove the crank because the other pistons are not connected anymore. And once again, I mean, I don't see any heat on these pistons. That's crazy. Well, I mean, this just proves how much force and whatnot is involved. But look at that. It wrapped, I'm assuming this is number 3's rod cap. It wrapped it right around the rod down there. Let me pull this out and show you guys. I mean, look at that. That is some cool carnage right there. I've never seen that. Just wrapped her right around. The rod held on somehow. As you can see, guys, I don't see anything hot. So normally if you got really tight clearances and spin a rod bearing, you're gonna see this is all gonna be black and blue and different colors. It looks good, but I don't know why the cap came off. And I'm not even able to pull it out of there. It's literally wrapped around. Can't even get it off. All right, guys, I'm gonna have to beat the other piston out. So we get in here like this. Boom, right on out. No connecting rod. That's not ideal. Typically, guys, you need a connecting rod, but there she is. And yep, she's pretty well smashed up. I don't have the other end. Adrian has the other end, so it's gonna be kind of hard to diagnose the other end what happened. But again, I don't see any heat on the crankshaft, which means the bearings seem fine. So one of two things happened. And again, I don't see anything tune-wise, detonation. I don't have the tune that it blew up on, or the log. I don't see anything sticking out saying that the tune was bad. As you know, the pistons look fine. Of course, we can't judge from this guy, but the other pistons look fine. Again, like, you know, these pistons look really good. There's no signs of crazy like heat. And I actually think he's reused these a couple times. But there's no crazy rubbage or heat. A little bit of side skirt wear here and there, but it's not that bad. So yeah, I don't see anything tune related that like I got super hot on the tune. Bearings definitely, I don't really like how the bearings started to already kind of wear really fast. I don't think this motor has many miles on it. But one of two things happened here. Even there's just a simple rod failure. It bent and then snapped, or the rod bolts broke. I don't have the rod bolts with me. I mean, they are the 3/8. They're the small 3/8 2000s, really tiny bolts. These very well could have snapped. And if you lose a rod bolt, of course, everything comes apart. Same thing with the rod. You know, if you bend the rod or it breaks, it's coming apart. So, and again, I've seen these Eagle rods. They're not strong. They're very low budget build rod. Honestly, I think stock rods are probably just as strong as these. I would not use them. So it looks like it could just have been a parts failure. Really nobody to blame. Nothing that I can see really on the engine or even the tune. So he actually sent me the tune, and everything looked pretty decent. Like timing wasn't crazy. Everything looked fine. It made like 550. He did say they were having some fueling issues. And again, like detonation wise, I don't see anything in the bearing. I don't see anything. If it's detonating really bad, you'll see the actual pin boss area up here where the pin is at. The bushing will be all pushed out, and that looks really good up in there. I haven't taken the pins out yet to see if like any bendage, but they got like some pretty thick pins in them, so I kind of doubt it. But also you'll be able to see if it is detonating. You'll see evidence on the actual pin on the inside of the piston as well. So we'll take those apart and look. But honestly, right now, I'm just thinking it's a parts failure. Rod bolts probably went, or he bent a rod and it threw it out the side. Cap. And if that's number 2's cap, it's really hard to see because the piston's blocking a lot of it. I can't even see inside, but I don't see any heat like around the, like obviously there's heat on the tips and stuff because that's where it was getting whacked by the rod when it came apart, but I don't think it spun a bearing. It doesn't look like it spun a bearing to me. It just looks like the rod fell apart, to be totally honest with you. Which wouldn't surprise me because these are budget rods. So all right, guys. Well, that is teardown. I'm gonna break these down a little bit more. I'll bring you guys in, kind of show you a couple other pieces that I look at. So I went ahead and checked the gap, and looking pretty wide. We're at 25 thou. That's what I run in my car. So it's quite a bit of ring gap for a motor that's probably only built to handle 700 or 800 horsepower. 25 is pretty generous. So that's top ring. We're gonna go ahead and see what the scraper ring pulls. Holy mackerel, that's a gap. You could put a nickel in that son of a hoozy. Look at that thing. I put my 40 thousandths in and it didn't even register. Massive gap for second ring. I'm really shocked it had good compression and no blow by. That's a lot of ring gap for a motor for only, you know, I don't even run that big in mine. That's pretty excessive amount of ring gap. Well guys, I just measured number 1 and we're at 17 thousandths. And then I measured number 4 and it's 25 thousandths on top ring. So I put number 4 into number 1, see if there's cylinder differences. It's still 25 thousandths. So we went from 18 to 25 between 1 and 4 cylinder. I can do number 3, can't do number 2 because it pinched the ring lands. I won't be able to get the rings out and they're gonna be deformed anyway. I'm gonna run a bore scope, not bore scope, but I'm gonna check the bore and actually see if the bores are the same. But whoever did the ring gapping, that's a crazy difference. You wanna have your ring gaps the same, so each piston has the same gap. So to go from 17 to 25, somebody wasn't paying attention and they overcut the ring and they just slapped it in anyway. So yeah, just attention to detail, guys. So number 3 was at 20, like 1920. So it looks like they were aiming for 18, but on number 4, they got really carried away and it's 25 thou. So again, I can't check 2. So 1's 18, 3's about 19-ish, 4's 25. So ring gap was a little all over the place. Next thing we're gonna check is We're gonna measure the piston and we're gonna see how much piston to wall that this motor had. All right, again guys, I'll show you how to get the piston size. Just make sure you clean your piston off there. We're gonna go ahead and set her down. Take your micrometer. And we're gonna get inside here. And you measure at the skirt. Right, there we go. 345.99. We'll do another one just to verify that we're getting the correct size. It's probably a 346 piston, is my guess. Yep, there we're getting a 346.05. Do it one more time. There we're getting a 345.99 again. So yeah, it's probably a 346. These are 88 millimeters, I believe. So we're going to go ahead and lock that down so you can't move this. And then what we're going to do, zero out our bore gauge. If you guys remember how I did this in the past. Doing this kind of crappy. Normally I put it in a vise. I'm just trying to show you guys how this is done. Up, and we're too small. We're gonna have to go to the next size up. All right guys, we got our gauge on 0. So we're gonna drop her into the bore, sweep her over, and boom. Right about 5 thousandths piston to wall, which is good. It's right where we want it. A little bit tighter side to side, which is pretty normal. Let's check this guy. 5 thousandths again. A little bit more in 2, probably because of the wear. And number 1 is right at 5 thou. So good hone, good bore job. 5 thousandths piston wall is that's a good area for this setup. All right, went ahead and we took our pin out. And it moves pretty free. This is a pretty thick pin, 250 wall pin on such a tiny rod. Not really sure why they did that. This is the same pin that I run in my cars. I mean, 250 wall pin. Same pin I run. Not same brand, but same pin size. So it's a pretty big pin to put in this. It doesn't really match the rod, but I mean, I don't know. Whoever decided to put these parts together wanted a big pin, I guess. But pistons look fine. Rods 1 and 4 looks fine. Again, doesn't look like an assembly problem, bearing wise. Again, I can't really tell on the big end here what's going on with this guy. But from the crank and stuff, it doesn't look like it had heat. So number 2 is here. And I mean, it's beat up from getting beat up, but if I can flip it here. So like no, as you can tell, like if there's a spun bearing, it chews all this up. So that all looks fine. So it's definitely not bearing clearance problem. So back to possible causes. Another thing I did notice, I don't know if I mentioned this, none of the rod bolts, none of these had ARP lube on them. So typically you're gonna run ARP on the threads, you're gonna run ARP down at the base of the bolt, up against the cap. And almost every time you pull these out, even ran, you're still gonna have, like down inside here, you're still gonna see evidence of lube. and there's none. So there was no ARP moly lube on the bolts, which means the rod bolts may have not been torqued properly. It was the same situation with the head studs, no ARP lube. I know some people will use oil, but it's not as good as the ARP lube, and they could have used oil possibly, but there was no lube on there. The two that I did crack loose, they seemed fine, but again, that's not the ones that failed. You know, number 2 failed, so I'm not sure. It could have been a bolt failure. It could have been they weren't torqued properly and they weren't torqued down as much. And then once you start getting a lot of back and forth on the rod, you know, they loosened up and then snapped the bolts off. That's a possibility. But at the end of the day, you know, something happened, hardware failure or some type of maybe a torque issue, and it failed the rod. So most likely he's going to want to be going to a 2.4F, which is mainly what I like doing. I think the 2.4s are great for power, torque. People say like, oh, the durability. Well, yeah, you have a bigger stroke, just don't rev it as high and it's not as much stress on the rod bearings. I mean, I rev mine to 9. I try to shift like mid-8, but sometimes it reaches 9, and you guys have seen my bearings. They look fine for definitely the power that I run. So, you know, you can run a 2.4 to 9,000. It's fine as long as your head can support it as well, and the bearings don't look bad at all. They don't always make the greatest power past 9, but that's up to the tuner and to the driver. So most likely we're going to go to 2.4, but that's pretty much the teardown in a nutshell. The only other thing I'm going to look at, we can tear apart the oil pump here real quick, and I'll show you guys. Hopefully we can save the oil pump, and hopefully I didn't get any particulate and metal inside of the gears. And if it's scored the gears all up, pump's going to be no good either. But from the video he sent me, it looked like it locked up and it just shut off. So hopefully that's the case and it didn't suck in a bunch of metal. Let's tear that apart real quick, see what we can see. All right, we opened her up, and good thing for him, no metal in there, which means all of our gears, yep, it looks really good. So yeah, it did not eat a bunch of metal, which is great to know. That's awesome. So definitely save him some money there, not having to do an oil pump. That's normal. You can see a little bit of scratches there, a little material. The other thing we gotta look at is make sure that this didn't get hit with a rod and crack. And I don't see any where it looks like it got hit, which he really lucked out there, because you know, this got hit, obviously it would be cracked and it would not be usable, but it looks good. So I think we're at least gonna be able to save the oil pump, which will save him some money. These pumps are a couple $100, and that works really nice. Yep, working good. I'm gonna clean this up, some brake cleaner, and probably go ahead and take out the pressure valve, make sure that all looks okay and there's no material. Pretty much gonna do it. As you can see, we can at least save the oil pump. We will be able to save the oil pan. Oil pan's fine. I don't see any holes in it, so that'll be good. Don't know if I showed you guys the head yet, did I? I don't know. Well, here's the head. I think I did show you guys the head, but yeah, we got some damage in there, bent valves, so that's gonna need to get sent. Pretty much everything else looks pretty good though, which isn't a lot considering it blew up. So it's unfortunate. The block's not gonna be any good either, you know, so we're gonna have a whole new block, whole new crank. But hey, he will have an F24 at the end of the day, and as far as I'm concerned, F24s are king in these cars. I love my 2.4. So that's pretty much gonna do it. Remember guys, comment, like, subscribe, like what you're watching. Part 2 of this motor will be coming at you. I gotta get everything figured out, figure out what rods and pistons we're gonna go with, figure out block, crank, all that stuff. I think I'm gonna be able to pretty much get everything for him already. I have spare blocks and some spare cranks. So we'll get this stuff out to Jeremy, get that stuff sleeved up, get piston and rod combo. So part 2, we'll be back with all the new parts, ready to go, start miking the crank, start miking our clearances, see what we wanna go with there. You guys know the deal. So remember, come on back, part 2, probably be in a couple weeks or so, but we'll be back at you here and follow this build. All right, appreciate you guys, kind of like, subscribe. Bonus footage, just wanted to see the difference between a shelf Aries piston. This is just a shelf straight flat top, 88 millimeter. So we're sitting at 360 grams versus a Trom Outlaw piston, 2.4, 370, 10 grams more. And I mean, just look at the difference in material. I mean, that's all cut out. Look how much beefier everything is. Down through here, you can see how thin it is. Up into where the pin boss is at, it's cut out, you know. Of course, full bottom, and this is all cut away. So only 10 grams more, which ain't bad. I mean, 10 grams is, you know, decent. I mean, a button is 7.5, so not bad. But obviously a much beefier piston. These are great pistons though. I actually used to run a very similar piston in my 2-liter, and really good piston. Also, I did a little quick, so this is the pin out of his motor, 150 gram pin versus the Trom 155. So we got 5 grams on the pin, but the pins are actually physically bigger. So as you can see, a little bit longer pin for the more, as you can see, there's a lot more material there. So the pin goes all the way through versus this one does not. So a little bit taller pin. I was also looking at the rods just so you guys can kind of see the difference here. All right, so 2.4 rod on the bottom versus a 2-liter rod. So you can obviously see the difference there. Much smaller rod for the 2.4 because of the stroke. You got more stroke, you need to shorten the rod up. So just a cool little comparison, show you guys what we're doing with these 2.4 setups. Piston wise, sorry for my thing there, but I got the pin in just to show you guys where everything sits. And when it comes to actual piston height, pretty much the same, but you can see how much thicker this top ring lane is. I mean, it's way thicker. The ring pack is moved a lot further down. So here's the control, here's top ring, second ring and second ring. So you can see the difference there. Much bigger top ring versus this guy. Skirt wise, they're about the same, I'd say. Not much that guy versus that guy, about the same skirt length. A little bit more, you have obviously more material through here, but yeah, pretty close piston height. The biggest difference is the ring land is a way thicker, and they move the ring pack down just a smidge. But yep, some bonus footage, guys, bonus footage.